Hey Techno Studs! One thing that your wireless LAN controller can do is hand out IP addresses. Your wireless LAN controller can act as a DHCP server. Now, up until now, it's our layer 3 switch that acted as the DHCP server. And what we can do is we can use that layer 3 switch to hand out IP addresses for our wireless LANs. That's what we did in the case of VLAN 30, is my machine got an IP address from the layer 3 switch. But perhaps we want to cut that layer 3 switch out. An example of where we might use this is something like a guest VLAN. A guest VLAN, I might not want to have touched that switch at all, and everything be handled through the wireless controller. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to learn how to set up a DHCP scope on our wireless LAN controller and then get our wireless LANs to be able to hand out IP addresses using that DHCP scope. What we're going to do in this demo is we're going to set up a scope for our management VLAN. So let's take a look on how to do that. First of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the controller tab, and then within the controller tab, I see on the left-hand side here an internal DHCP server. So I'm going to open that up and click on DHCP scope. So now I'm seeing all the scopes, which we haven't set anything up, so there's nothing here. I'm going to select new here. I'm going to give it a scope name, and so I'm going to just call this management because I'm going to create a scope for our management VLAN. I'll hit apply, and there it is. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this to actually configure it. So I select it. The starting pool for this network, let's do 10.1.10.224, and the ending will be 10.1.10.230. So I'm just going to hand out a few. One of the reasons why I might just hand out a few on this network is because I don't really want a lot of devices connecting to this management VLAN. So this is one way to limit that to a certain degree. So I'm going to give it the network. The network is 10.1.10.0 is the network address, and the mask is 255.255.255.0. I can give it a time to live, and what I've got there is just fine. The default routers for this network, which is 10.1.10.1. The DNS domain name, so we'll call this andy.lan. The DNS server, so far we've just been using 8.8.8.8 as our DNS server, so I'll do that the same here. A NetBIOS name server, I don't have a NetBIOS server on this at this time, so I'm going to leave that just the way it is. And then status, we will go ahead and enable this and then hit apply. So now this scope is activated. So next what I need to do is I need to apply this to the management network. And the way I do that is a little interesting. I'm going to go under interfaces, and then I'm going to click on the management interface. And then within the management interface, I have this primary DHCP server where I'm specifying the primary DHCP server. And so right now, this is specifying 10.1.10.6, which doesn't really exist. So I'm going to change this to .5, which is the management address of the wireless LAN controller. And so I am going to do that. You can see that it's specified right there. So it's referencing itself. So I'm going to choose that. I'm going to then enable this, and I will hit apply. And then it's going to warn me this could cause a disruption. Okay, I'm fine with that. And then once I've done that, I can open this up and I can connect to the TKS10 network. That's my management network. So I'm going to do that, and I will select connect. Now, if we've set this all up correctly, what it will do is it will get an IP range in that DHCP scope. So just do a refresh on this. Looks like it's connected. I'll bring up a command prompt and type in ipconfig. And I see the IP version 4 is 10.1.10.224, which is the first address in that scope. So now it is handing out IP addresses to the machines that connect to this wireless LAN. So we've set this up, and now we will be able to communicate to other devices on this network.